Urgent just came out now. What great news for the Football Club of Arsenal. Before we go into the details, if you are new here on the channel, subscribe and leave your like so you will always be up to date with all the news from the Football Club of Arsenal. Thank you. Everything Mikel Arteta said after Arsenal's narrow loss to Liverpool, on Saliba's injury, lineup decisions, and a game decided by one magical moment. After a frustrating 1-0 defeat to Liverpool at Anfield, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta faced the media to break down what went wrong, how his team competed, and what comes next. It was a game filled with intensity, promise, and ultimately heartbreak, decided by a stunning free kick from Dominik Szoboszlai that left fans in awe and Arsenal empty-handed. Here's everything Arteta had to say, in his own words, after the match. On William Saliba's early injury. He twisted his ankle during the warm-up and told us he felt good enough to start. But within the first few moments of the match, you could see something wasn't right. He couldn't move the way he normally does. We had no choice but to take him off. Fortunately, Mosquera was ready. It was his Premier League debut, and to step in like that, at Anfield of all places, he was very, very good. I'm proud of how he handled it. On whether the team's plan was to frustrate Liverpool and wait for the right moment. No, not at all. Our plan was to win. We came here to take the game to them. I think we controlled large portions of the first half, pushed them into areas they didn't want to be in, and played with confidence. But in a place like Anfield, you know there will always be a stretch, 10, 15 minutes, where the momentum shifts. And when it does, games like this can be decided in two ways, an individual mistake, or a moment of magic. Today, unfortunately, it was the latter. On the midfield setup and whether it was too conservative given the attacking opportunities. We played the hand we were dealt. Martin, Degaard, wasn't available, Kai, Havertz, couldn't play, and Mikel Merino is still adjusting after coming in. We had to be smart with our choices. We still had three forwards, and both fullbacks were pushing high. It's always easy to question these things after the result, but on the pitch, I think the balance was right given the circumstances. On Declan Rice playing deeper than usual. It was a tactical decision. We knew how Liverpool would press and how we wanted to build from the back. Putting Declan in that deeper role gave us more control in the early stages, and I think it worked for the most part. He did well in that position. On whether he's worried about Saliba's injury long-term. Yes, of course I'm concerned. You simply can't perform at this level if you're not 100%. When a player like William says is not right after trying to continue, you know it's serious. We'll assess him further, but it's not ideal. On what changed in the second half. This is Anfield. At some point, the atmosphere, the energy, they always find a way to turn the game. We couldn't keep control of the transitions. There was a key moment where our keeper had the ball, we made a poor decision, and suddenly they were pressing us again. We lost our shape a bit and couldn't stretch the pitch like we did in the first half. But even then, they didn't create much. It was one world-class moment that made the difference. On Eberechi's debut. He brought a spark. He looked sharp, excited, and eager to make something happen. That's a big positive for us, even in defeat. He's a player who can make a difference, and today was just the beginning. Looking ahead. Now heading into the international break, Arsenal will be left to reflect on missed opportunities and the fine margins that define games at the very top. Arteta remains focused, knowing his team is close, but close isn't always enough in a league where brilliance can undo 90 minutes of hard work in a single second. Fallout and reflection. What comes next for Arsenal? The loss at Anfield doesn't just sting, it sends a message. Despite a solid first half and flashes of control, Arsenal once again left one of England's toughest grounds without a point. For a team with title ambitions, that's a pattern they can no longer afford to repeat. The conversation around the match has quickly shifted from disappointment to concern, especially regarding William Saliba's fitness. With Arsenal already thin in defensive depth, fans are anxiously awaiting updates on the Frenchman's condition. Social media was flooded with frustration and worry, not only over the result, but over the implications of losing one of the team's most composed defenders. Mosquera's surprise debut was one of the few bright spots, and many supporters praised his calmness under pressure. But even his strong performance couldn't fully mask the bigger issue, Arsenal's fragility in big moments away from home. Pressure mounts as title race tightens. This result has already begun to impact the wider title race narrative. With Manchester City and Liverpool gaining momentum, every dropped point feels heavier. Arsenal's away form against top six sides continues to be a question mark, and critics are beginning to ask the hard questions. Can this team handle the pressure when it matters most? Arteta's tactical setup was heavily debated on post-match panels and podcasts. Many pundits pointed to the conservative midfield and lack of offensive spark in the second half as reasons why Arsenal struggled to turn dominance into goals. Others defended the strategy, noting the injuries and limited options Arteta had at his disposal. Still, the consensus remains clear. This Arsenal squad must become more ruthless in the final third and more resilient in hostile environments if they want to go the distance. Inside the dressing room, leadership and response. Sources close to the club revealed a quiet but focused atmosphere in the dressing room after the game. Senior players like Declan Rice and Gabriel Jesus reportedly addressed the squad, emphasizing unity and the need to bounce back quickly. Arteta, ever the motivator, reminded his players that setbacks like these are part of the journey, but the response defines the team's character. "We don't lose our identity after one game," he reportedly told the group. "But we do need to show who we really are in how we respond." Looking ahead, recovery, reset, and return. The international break comes at a critical time. It offers Arsenal a chance to regroup, recover from injuries, and reset mentally. Saliba's status will be monitored closely, while Martin Odegaard and Kai Havertz are expected to return to full training by the end of the break. Eberechi's, despite the loss, has given fans something to look forward to. His energy, dribbling, and ability to unlock tight defenses could be exactly what Arsenal needs heading into a run of must-win matches. The next few weeks will be crucial, not just in terms of points, but in defining the team's identity. Are they contenders who learn from defeat, or a side still haunted by the shadows of near misses? One thing is clear: if Arsenal are to stay in the title race, they'll need to come back sharper, stronger, and more determined than ever. What Arsenal made Gary Neville do against Liverpool, and why Victor Gyoke's collision said everything. Arsenal's latest visit to Anfield ended in frustration, and a moment of brilliance from Dominic Szoboszlai sealed it. Despite dictating the rhythm and playing confidently through two-thirds of the pitch, Mikel Arteta's men left empty-handed. In a clash between two of last season's top contenders, the margins were razor-thin. Arsenal looked the better side for long stretches, yet failed to convert their control into goals. Once again, the question resurfaces: can this team win the biggest games when it matters most? While their record against the traditional Big Six has improved, this performance reignited doubts. Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard were missed sorely, and although Noni Madueke offered energy from the right, Arsenal couldn't generate the same attacking spark. Ironically, it was a set piece, the very method Arsenal often thrive from, that undid them. Here are the defining moments from a match that, while seemingly quiet, revealed a lot more upon second glance. Raya's reaction says it all. It took something extraordinary to beat David Raya for the first time this season, and Szoboszlai delivered it. A rocket of a free kick from distance found the top corner, and Raya could do little but watch it crashing off the bar. His response? A puff of the cheeks and a glance of disbelief, as if to say, "What more could I have done?" He had moved to his left, trying to anticipate the flight, only to see the ball sail over his fingertips to the top right corner. It was a world-class strike, and that's what it takes to beat Arsenal these days. Saliba's setback, before the match even started. William Saliba went down just 4 minutes in. The collision with Hugo Ekitike looked minor, off the ball, and seemingly harmless. But it was a ticking time bomb from the start. Footage from the warm-up later showed Saliba walking gingerly, supported by medical staff. Arsenal took the risk, deeming him fit to start. It didn't last 300 seconds. Christian Mosquera was thrown into action for his Premier League debut at Anfield. Talk about baptism by fire. But he handled it admirably. Saliba later returned to the bench in full club gear, a sign that perhaps the substitution was precautionary. Arsenal will hope that's all it was. Gary Neville loses patience. If there was one person who embodied the frustration of this match, it was Gary Neville. Commentating for Sky Sports, he didn't hold back, especially when it came to Arsenal's cautious passing and lack of attacking ambition. They take riskier passes in their own box than in the final third, he snapped, as Raya launched a ball upfield that was easily intercepted by Virgil van Dijk. It wasn't just Arsenal. Neville criticized both teams for playing in reverse. Passing backwards has become a disease, he added later, after another safe ball back to Raya instead of attacking down the right. He even compared it to teams trusting their goalkeeper more than their striker. If the ball was 60 yards further up the pitch, they wouldn't give it to Victor Gyoke, but they'll happily give it to their keeper under pressure in the box. The first half was tentative, uninspired, and safe. While Arteta might argue it was a calculated risk, away at Anfield, without his captain, key playmaker, and star centre-back, Neville's critique resonated. This wasn't the Arsenal we're used to seeing take bold risks. Declan Rice's free-kick nightmare. Then came a moment Arsenal fans will want to forget. Around the half-hour mark, Declan Rice stepped up to take a long-range free-kick. What followed was, well, let's say it joined Raheem Sterling's skied effort for Chelsea and Robert Huth's infamous miskick in the list of all-time bad set pieces. Rice blasted it into the top rows of the Kop. It wasn't even close. To his credit, he laughed it off, acknowledging the error. After all, he's earned the right to try something bold, having scored twice against Real Madrid and proven himself from set pieces. But still, that one? Not his finest. Victor Gyökeres makes an impact, literally. There's no subtlety in Victor Gyökeres' game. He's all about straight lines, speed, power, and one mindset: go forward. It didn't take long for Alisson to find that out. As the Liverpool keeper held onto the ball early in the game, inviting pressure, Gyökeres came flying in, hard and fast. He collided with Alisson just after the ball was cleared. There was no overreaction from the Brazilian, and no protest from the Swede, but the message was sent. Gyökeres doesn't hesitate. Even if he wasn't involved much in this game, he made his presence known. And that kind of relentless energy? It's going to be a valuable weapon for Arsenal in the battles ahead. What the match revealed. This wasn't the kind of game to make headlines for drama or fireworks, but it exposed deeper truths. Arsenal still struggled to turn control into goals in the biggest away matches. Their approach was careful, deliberate, perhaps too safe. And while that strategy has kept them in contention at the top, it hasn't always delivered the knockout punch. With the title race tightening and rivals gaining ground, the Gunners must learn to finish what they start, or risk seeing another season slip away in the margins.